What's up, guys? It's Garage Goons. I'm your boy Tyler, and you're watching the most trash show on YouTube. And today, I wanted to talk about fight gloves. How do you know what type to pick? What's the right type for you? There's more nuances than what I'm going to give you, obviously, but I'm going to give you the 4 basic types and the 4 basic styles, if you will, of fight glove. Okay, so if you're just starting out, okay, so there's bag gloves, okay, and those are going to be gloves that are more sleek, hard, dense padding that is less about protecting your hand, or the stitching isn't really made for hitting anything but a bag. It would probably be something that would piss off your sparring partners if you use it for anything for outside of a bag work and mitt work. So there's bag gloves, there's sparring gloves, there's fight gloves, and there's training gloves. Sparring gloves are exactly what they sound like. They are made for sparring, okay? So they are usually typically softer, provide more of a foam that compresses easier, and there's obviously different types, but if it's a sparring glove, it's not designed to be crushed against a bag. It's not going to be as durable as a bag glove, and it may not give you as much feedback as a bag glove because it's designed to protect your hand and your opponent more than a bag glove or, a training glove maybe. And then you have training gloves, which is not new, but they've been around for decades now. But it's a concept where if you want to have the do-it-all glove, right? Like think about tires. There's off-road tires, there's all-terrain tires, there's sports car tires. This is gonna just be your Goodyear does everything tire, right? So that's the kind of glove a training glove is. That's whenever one of my students asks me about gloves, I always tell them, look for training gloves, because training gloves, you can do everything in. They're designed for everything. And some of it is marketing jargon. Like there are some that say sparring gloves that you can absolutely use for training and doing everything. But for the most part, you're safe with training glove. Okay, so we have bag glove, we have sparring glove, we have training glove, and the last one is fight gloves, and those are usually going to be 8 or 10 ounces, or 12 if you're amateur. If you're pro, it's usually either 8 or 10, and amateurs usually fight 12-ounce gloves. At least in California, that's what they're doing in boxing and Muay Thai right now, and kickboxing as well, 12-ounce gloves. So those are your types of gloves. Now we're going to get into styles. So I gave you the 4 types: bag, sparring, training, and fight gloves, okay? And now the next style of glove, the next type of glove, or we're going to break it down even further. We're going to go over glove types. And I have a few of them right here for you. And I'm going to talk about, what they are. And some of them are going to be hybrids, and I'll give you some examples of some of the ones I don't own or used to own or have tried out, whatever. But these are going to be more personalized to you, and I recommend everybody. You might fall in love with a glove online. You might see something on Amazon, be like, oh, that's the one, I got to buy it. But I really, really encourage you. Gloves are kind of like shoes. You got to try them on. I mean, if you already know you like it, great. But if it's brand new to you, I understand a lot of stuff is online only and it's hard to get your hands on it. But if you can get to a fight shop somewhere and try a glove out, there's nothing that's going to substitute. No amount of YouTube reviews, no amount of whatever is going to determine how it's going to feel and perform for you over going to a fight shop, trying it on, and hopefully they'll let you hit a bag a couple times with it on, right? So the first type of glove, or style I should say, because we went over types, is going to be pillow style. So right here I have my 18-ounce fighting freedom gloves. Pillow style is usually a rounded off style, and it's very soft, and the foam compresses and deadens. Meaning, if you could throw your hardest punch and you might not get your knuckles to seep all the way through. It's great for your sparring partners, and it's great for your hands. Now, if you don't have good punch mechanics, that's when the problems with pillow gloves come in. They're great if you have good punch mechanics already, but you can learn some really bad habits with these because you don't know where your hands are landing. So if you're training in 16-ounce pillow-style gloves, and let's say you throw a hook a certain way, but in real life you're not turning it over or turning your fist down or even here, and let's say your hooks are landing a lot like this with these bottom two knuckles. Well, when you go to fight, if you go to compete and they put you in the smaller gloves, now you might not get to fight in pillow style gloves. You might be hitting your bottom two knuckles, which is a big no-no. That's how you get boxing fractures. So the plus side is they're very, very protective for both you and your sparring partners. They usually are rounded off. Not always, but for the most part, like if you look at winnings, if you look at these fighting ones, it's a very rounded off, very round shape. The Sting ones that they use are pillow style. And yeah, it's just a very rounded off, pillowy shape. And it feels like a pillow. That's why, I mean, if I had to sleep on any one of my gloves, it'd probably be my fightings. Okay, so that's the first style of glove. The second style is going to be puncher's gloves. Now, puncher's gloves are more compact usually, and they have a foam construction that's designed to get your knuckles to sink all the way in. Okay, you're trying to get your opponent to feel your knuckles when you make that impact. Okay, and you hit your target, you hit your punch. Okay, your top two knuckles are sinking right through this padding and booping your opponent and inflicting maximum damage. That is great for fighting. That's great for sparring. And again, it's good if you have good mechanics. If you have bad mechanics, okay, you might hurt yourself just sparring in them before your fight and before your glove ounce size goes down. You might hurt yourself in 16-ounce gloves. So if you have brittle hands, if you have hands that you've had problems with, your knuckles, your fingers, puncher's style gloves might not be the style that you want to go with, okay? Typically the foam inside of puncher style gloves, there's usually, not always, but usually latex and a multi-layer foam where they prioritize the foam over the wrist support, okay, and on the back, so that way your wrist doesn't get jammed, okay. But as far as the knuckle support, it's not going to provide the same amount of support. It's designed for inflicting damage, okay. It's designed for getting feedback. It's designed for feeling that pop, okay. So not the most hand support in puncher style gloves, but they are the most offensive style gloves. Now, the third style glove I'm going to talk about is protective. Now, protective, similar to pillow style, is designed to protect your knuckles, okay? This is not a protective style glove. I would say this is a hybrid between puncher and protective. And I'll get into what protective is. Usually protective has a lot of padding over the knuckle. It prioritizes padding over the knuckle, over wrist support, and it's usually a flatter surface. Some classic brands, some of the most popular brands that are used by pro fighters are protective style. Grant's, okay? That's the first one that comes to mind. Obviously, what's the subsidiary of Grant? I can't think of it right now. But Grants are like the most famous, I would say, protective style glove. But if it's very squared off and it's a very high padding over the knuckles, that's usually protective, okay? But there are some, like this one is like hit moves, I would say, is a hybrid between protective and puncher style, because I get good knuckle seepage with these, but they do provide a nice thick layer of foam over the knuckle in comparison to like my MK1s, which I don't know if you can see the difference here, okay? But you can see it's a much smaller punch surface, okay? It's a much smaller punch surface. And even if we're going from like wrist, right? If the wrist cuff starts at the same point, you can see a height difference in the amount of padding here, right? The glove is very similar in length as far as when the wrist cuff starts and all that stuff, and where the back of the glove actually starts from the wrist cuff. But if you look at the padding, the hidden moves are significantly more padded over the knuckles than my MK1s, which is a true puncher style glove. Okay, and then the last style glove, which most people don't talk about on these styles of gloves, is a Muay Thai glove. I don't have my Fairtexes anymore, I got rid of them, but a Muay Thai style glove usually has a high wrist cuff. So these, if you look at, you know, my Fightings, for example, which have the lowest wrist cuff of all of my gloves, these prioritize having a low wrist cuff, okay? That comes all, like, look, I only have like 6 inches of forearm left before the wrist cuff ends, okay? So these come way farther down on your wrist. Muay Thai gloves have a very high wrist cuff, but they still use the same weight system. They still use the 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and sometimes even 18 ounces weight system for gloves. So how do they make their glove that starts so much higher up on the wrist weigh the same? Well, if you notice the profile of, like, if you look at Boone, if you look at Fairtex, if you look at Windy, if you look at Yocal, you will notice that the glove is very puffy, and that's because they have to add all of that extra padding in there because they don't have the extra weight from down here to add into the glove to make it fit the ounce system that boxing uses, or kickboxing, or Muay Thai uses, right? They all use the same ounce system. So the gloves are naturally fatter, okay? If you look at, like, the fattest Muay Thai glove you can find probably is Twins, if you ask me. And they almost look like sock 'em boppers on your hands. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm too old, I'm dating myself, 90s kid reference here, but sock 'em boppers are like these, like, inflatable, like, they basically look like flotation devices that you just stuck on your hands, and you and your little brother would duke it out in the living room when your parents left to go grocery shopping, and then the older brother, me, would get grounded or spanked afterwards, depending on my age, right? So, yeah, they're really wide and fat, and it also serves another purpose, because in Muay Thai, the angle of strikes usually comes from a different, not always, but a lot of times comes from a different angle. If you think about the way a kick travels, it travels over and around like this. Okay, so when you're here, okay, you want a big fat surface to protect a wide variety, because punches are usually going to go towards your chin. Kicks will wrap around and a lot of times hit you behind the ear, hit you on the temple, hit you in places that punches don't always necessarily travel. And also, if you just watch Thai fights, a lot of the stuff that comes down the middle, sure, guys do jab and guys do throw 1-2s, of course, but are like elbows and things like that. So I just noticed in Muay Thai fights, they throw a lot more hooks to set up their kick, because if you hook this way, now my right leg is loaded, now I can come back with a kick using this, like, pendulum, you know, twisting system to load up our kicks and punches and go back and forth. So when you have something more narrow, okay, protecting the side of your head, that kick could still wrap around and hit you here. Now, if you have a fatter glove that goes further back, that's a little bit more protection for your head. So that's a style. And also, they use the high wrist cuff because in Muay Thai, they don't prioritize locking your wrist in for wrist support. They want dexterity in the wrist because they trust that they have good technique, good form, and they need to be able to move around to get Thai plums, push guy. It's more of a pushing, and there's more of grabbing aspect and sweeping aspect, which means, you know, you take your opponent, you get control of him or her, and you kick out their legs and trip them. Okay, so that's another strategy that obviously doesn't exist in boxing and is less present in traditional Dutch kickboxing. Sweeps absolutely do happen in Dutch kickboxing, but it's way more prevalent in Thai fighting, if you ask me, in Muay Thai. Okay, so what glove should you pick? I can't answer that question for you, okay? But I can give you at least a frame of reference. You want to get into this sport, you want to get into boxing, and you know from sports in the past, maybe you played football, maybe you played basketball, maybe you played tennis, and you sprain your wrist. So you know you want to have something that has very good wrist support. Well, maybe you want something then that goes further down your arm, just for more coverage, right? Maybe you want something that goes, you know, that maybe you have brittle hands and you've broken your fingers, or you've punched something before and hurt your hand. Maybe you want a pillow style. Maybe you want to even go the extra mile and get a protective style, which is going to cover more of your head as well, vertically this way, because the padding is higher than a puncher style or even most pillow styles, right? So those are some things to think about. And size-wise, guys, I can't tell you. I don't know your gender. I don't know how heavy you are. I don't know your age. I don't know your intent. But generally speaking, I always say if you're a grown adult, you can't go wrong buying 16s. Even if you're a female, even if you're, you know, a skinny dude who's fully grown, maybe you're a full-grown man and you only weigh 130 pounds, 120 pounds, that's fine. I still suggest 16-ounce gloves, because here's the thing. There's no guarantee that a 16-ounce is going to be safer if you're sparring than a 12-ounce, because padding is distributed different ways. A 12-ounce could be like a pillow style glove and have a lot more cushion over the knuckles than a 16-ounce puncher style glove, and this one may hurt your opponents more than a 12-ounce pillow style. But defensively, 16 ounces, because there's just more padding somewhere in the glove, you have more coverage, you have more protection, and it's going to encourage you to keep your hands in a proper place. And generally speaking, 16 ounces to me is the widely accepted size that people are okay sparring in. They don't ask questions. If they see the 16s, they're like, all right, cool, whatever. They might sweat you if you have some bullshit ass gloves in there, but you know, I would honestly say ask your coach, ask your trainers, ask guys who compete, ask girls who compete that you trust. Hey, these are my issues. These are the things I'm concerned about, and these are what I want in a glove. Or even, like I said before, try out the gloves. Go to the fight shop, try them out. Okay, that's the best way to know what's going to work for you, and get you a glove that you're going to love. Okay, and also take care of them. I made a video on how to clean your gloves. Go check that out. But yeah, those are the styles of gloves. So it depends on the sport. Are you boxing? Are you kickboxing? Are you doing Muay Thai? Are you just going to cardio kickboxing? Okay, are you just, you know, going to some bag work class? It depends, right? I think in general though, go with a training glove. If it says bag glove, if it says sparring glove, and you're not sure what you're gonna do, you're safe with 16s and you're safe with a training glove, generally speaking. Okay, so those are the types of gloves and the styles that they're made in. I could get into other things like different types of foams, latex and horsehair and IMF and all this stuff, but honestly, if you get a training glove and it's comfortable to you and it's a reputable brand that you know that other people have, or you know that you've seen other people in the gym rock, experienced people, then yeah, it's usually a safe bet. Okay, so training gloves, 16 ounces, and then find what style you like. You might like pillow gloves, you might like punches, you might like protective, you might like Thai gloves. Okay, so That's Garage Goons, the most trash show on YouTube. Hopefully this was good information for y'all. And thanks, man. I'm your boy Tyler, and we are out of this bitch.